guys, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.
Backstage Pass Edition.
Welcome back, guys. I think this is our final Backstage Pass of the season. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Oh, man. So we're going to go out with a doozy?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yes, we are.
What are we talking about today?
All right. So our friend asks, how do I bring up to a girl I've dated for years the topic of marriage? Not proposing.
Okay.
Just starting discussion about it.
Okay. So also pause for anyone who hasn't ever listened to Backstage Pass before. These are questions from our guy listeners.
Yes.
And they want a female perspective on it. And so that's what we're doing. So, okay. My first, I wish we could have like a follow-up question.
I
Because I would want to know how old he is.
Yeah. Because like if you've been dating since you were like 14.
Yeah.
That's very plausible that you haven't brought it up until now.
Yes. If you started dating when you were 25 and now you're 29 and you've never talked about marriage, I would wonder why.
Teensy bit concerning.
I don't know. Like
maybe concerning is not the right word. I would just be interested to know why.
Yeah, I would just want to know why. So we're going to do the best we can in broad generalities with this, okay? So first thing I would say to you is you may not have brought it up, but trust me, she has been thinking about it. Even if you were 15 or 16 when you started dating, she's picturing the frilly white dress.
I'm nodding constantly as Bethany's talking.
So I mean that kind of in an encouraging way of it's probably not going to be that big of a
shock.
Or it's not going to be a tough sell to bring this up. She's going to be like, finally. Like, you're catching up to me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But I don't know. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just saying I wouldn't stress about this too much because I promise you she's thought about it. But also, you know your girlfriend. You know her well. So you know whether you're bringing this up is going to send her to her Pinterest board and she's going to be starting to seriously plan a wedding, or she can have a very, like, you know her well to know how to bring it up from that standpoint. For instance, Kristen and I are very different in this. I can talk to someone about marriage from a very rational, objective place of like, okay, this makes sense because you are this and I am this, and yes, this makes sense. We've been dating for forever. Like, let's move forward and like talking about this and being more intentional and serious about pursuing marriage. You even slightly mention it to Kristen. She's gotten way better at this, so I'm being a little bit dramatic here, but you even mention it to her. And she's hearing wedding bells, and she's like, I know he said we're just going to start talking about it, but, we'll probably get married in a couple months. Yeah. So, the difference. You know where your girlfriend is on that.
Yes. And I think, I guess I'm trying to think. Because the way he phrased it, it was almost like, I just want to talk about it. I don't want, not a proposal. I just want, he's very, maybe not hesitant, but doesn't want to, go super fast through it, which I get. I think, though, talking about marriage is obviously a very serious topic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's something you should take lightly by any stretch. However, it's not something you can really have a flippant conversation about if you have been dating for years. It is, when you bring it up, you don't want to, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you don't want to bring it up and feel like you've got a 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality as you're bringing it up. Because it's different if you've only been dating for a few months and you're like, I'm just going to put a feeler out there and see what happens. And you're in your late 20s or something. Obviously, I don't know how old this guy is. And that would be very clarifying as the direction we can take with this. But if you've been dating somebody for a few years, you are very serious. You know them very well. And I don't feel like it's going to be as much of a, hey, let me throw out a feeler. It's, hey, we've been together for a while. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, and that's kind of, as you were talking, that's kind of what, my brain was still, thinking, processing through the question. And I think the feelers have been put out there. I feel from the standpoint of, if you've been dating that long, you've said, oh, one day we're going to do this, or, oh, when we have kids, blah, blah, blah. I know you're not talking about marriage specifically, but it's kind of this undertone of this is where we're headed. So I'm sure y'all have talked about those kinds of things. You've made those sorts of comments. You've said those sorts of things. And so maybe he's asking, okay, we've gotten to a place where, okay, now I want to be like really purposeful in starting to pursue marriage with an end date in sight, not of the relationship, but like wedding date kind of thing, as opposed to it being this one day or when this happens or we'll figure this out down the road, but more like, okay, no, I do want to marry you. What are the things we need to figure out first? And maybe that's what you say is, okay, I want to be more purposeful of really pursuing this. What things have kept us from that thus far? Like, what things do you still need to know about me? What things do I need to know about you? What things need to line up that you don't already know? Because my guess is there's probably not many. After that amount of time, I feel like you're going to know all the things. And if what's been holding you back is that those things don't line up, does it seem like they're going to change?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think, yeah, you say, okay, maybe let's read this book on marriage or relationships and see where do we line up or not. Get your church involved. Do you have mentors, like couple mentors? Do you have individual ones? Leadership at your church. I mean, if you're wanting to get married, obviously people do premarital counseling once you're engaged, but I think there's more and more people do pre-engagement counseling.
I was just thinking the exact same thing.
And so that might be something to move towards if you're like, okay, I want to bring this up. I don't know how, or I want us to talk about this, but I don't really know what we need to talk about. Bring people in who can kind of give some guidance to that, whether it's in official pre-engagement counseling or whether it's just in, hey, let's sit down every other week with this couple who's been kind of involved in our relationship and let's talk to them, get their thoughts. What do they think we should improve on, pursue, talk about? Like, that may be the direction to take the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I know that one of my mentors told me about, this was years ago, but she said the rate of success in marriages skyrockets for the people who go through pre-engagement counseling.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because typically, like, for the people who don't make it through pre-engagement counseling, like,
yeah,
you don't feel as much of a pressure to have to, like, oh, we're engaged now. Like, there's no, this sounds awful, but there's no way out, kind of a thing.
Literally just thinking, I would rather go through pre-engagement counseling and realize it's not going to work than be engaged and planning a wedding and in premarital counseling realize, oh,
this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's a good point.
So it's a lower pressure situation, I guess, as you're working through things, because it gives you a little bit more of a perspective of, okay, we're going in there to see if this is a good idea if we get engaged. Yeah. And if it's not, then we're just not, that dating's not important, but we're just dating. Like, right. We're not.
Questions haven't been asked. Rings haven't been given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridesmaids haven't been recruited. You know, the whole thing. It's just a different situation. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And so I think that's something to consider too. But, and I think you may have already touched on this and I missed it. So if I did, please tell me. But as the guy, if you're hesitant to bring it up, and I'm not saying there's necessarily a bad reason why you don't want to bring it up, but I would challenge you to consider, why do I not want to bring this up? Or why am I hesitant to bring this up? Or why, if you haven't brought it up before,
yeah,
is it just because, we started dating when we were 14? Okay, cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're on the other side of it and you started dating when you were 25 and now you're 29 and you've never brought it up and you're scared to bring it up, why?
Is it something with her?
Yeah.
Is it something with you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what is it? And I think get your mentors involved. Get the people in your life who know you well, whether it's your parents, whether it's someone in your church, whatever that looks like. And ask them this exact same question that you asked us, because we can talk about it in like high level generalities, but we don't know you. We don't know your relationship. We don't know all the intricacies of that, but they do. Or if they don't, they at least know you well and you can fill them in on some of those other things. So this is why community is so important. Because they're the people who you want to bring in on this. They're the ones you want to speak into your relationship. And this is the time to really lean on that. So do that.
Yes, I agree 100%. I think we can wrap it there.
Okay.
Any final thoughts?
I don't think I have anything else.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up the final Backstage Pass for this season. We hope y'all enjoyed this. We will be back on Wednesday with our next full-length episode, so be sure and stay tuned for that. It is going to be our question episode, so where we have polled our listeners on Instagram we asked them, what would y'all like us to talk about without any planning and very little filtering.
Yes.
So it's going to be a good episode, so stay tuned for that on Wednesday. But until then, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle.